Kirby, Kirby, Kirby.
That's a name you should know.
Nobody invites you to Mario Kart, so what do? Make your own racing game and not invite anybody else. Yeah, that'll show them. Now, I don't care what you quote-unquote critics have to say about this game. I love Kirby Air Ride. Well, love City Trial mode anyways. The other modes are meh. Now, this game has really simple controls, which I feel makes it the perfect game to play with all your friends. Even your one-arm friends can play it because, you know, you only need one hand to play, so you can play with one hand and do other stuff with the other. Okay, this isn't going anywhere. Moving on. But one of the most interesting things about Kirby Air Ride is its development cycle. So in this video, if you haven't guessed already, we are going to be taking a look at the beta of Kirby Air Ride. Now, believe it or not, Kirby Air Ride was originally going to be a very early release title for the N64. It also had a very different name when it was being developed for the N64. Get this, you ready? On the N64, Kirby Air Ride was known as Kirby's Air Ride. I know, right? Big change. Now, nobody really knows for sure why they ended up changing the name, but I think it might have something to do with King Dedede and Meta Knight being included in the final release of the game. So now that they were in the game was no longer just Kirby's Air Ride. No, Kirby had to share that shit, so the name was changed to Kirby Air Ride. Now, it's just a little theory of mine, which probably isn't true, but meh. Now, there actually are a couple screenshots and a couple gameplay videos of the N64 version of Kirby's Air Ride, which I will show on screen right now. Now, looking at the gameplay from the N64 version, it looks pretty different from the final release of the game. The game looks kind of like it would have been an on-rails type of racer. Kind of like some sort of snowboarding game. Which is why some people believe that this version of Kirby Air Ride eventually evolved into 1080 snowboarding. And one thing that really interests me is this shot of Kirby wearing a fancy blue hat and he's jumping up in the air. What's so interesting about this shot, other than Kirby not being on any type of vehicle, is that there are clearly a life meter and a life counter on screen. And what this could possibly point to is that there was originally going to be some type of adventure mode in the N64 version. Now, in this adventure mode, Kirby could possibly free roam around the world and choose any vehicle he wanted in the world. I can only speculate. I have no idea, really. As we all know now, the game was eventually cancelled on the N64. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing that it got cancelled. I mean, looking at the gameplay footage that we're showing, the game looks like it would have been meh at best. Just the whole snowboarding type of gameplay just really doesn't seem like it'd be as fun to me. But to the game's credit, it does seem to be in a very early stage of development at the time of these screenshots. Well, at least I hope these screenshots are from a very early build of the game. And who knows, maybe if it was given a little more development time, it could have probably been a pretty awesome game. But anyways, after the initial announcement of the game was never really heard about for a good 7 years. Until finally, in 2003, we got to see a new trailer of the game under the new name Kirby Air Ride, with a no apostrophe so nobody gets confused. Now, looking at this trailer we're showing, the game looks like it was pretty much completed by this point. The only real difference when compared to the final game to these trailers is just some small texture differences and these mysterious red arrows, which nobody really knows what the red arrows were for. They were probably just some development thing that they left in the trailers. Now, that's pretty much everything when it comes to the development cycle of Kirby's Air Ride. But there's actually one really big beta element that was actually left on the game's final disc. There's actually still a debug menu left in the game which you can access using action replay codes. And trust me, there is a lot to this debug menu. The top right portion of the debug menu even needs its own save file on your memory card to be used. Now, most of the debug menu is mostly just settings you can change to the game. There are some more interesting things you can do in the debug menu, like being able to ride on the top ride vehicles in any mode like City Trial, or being able to ride on whatever this is. Oh, did I also mention this debug menu is very similar to the Super Smash Bros. Melee debug menu? Well, yeah, they are. Bet you can't tell the difference. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole beta of Kirby Air Ride. Now, I truly think this is one of the more interesting betas out there. Just because, well, we almost got a completely different game on a completely different system. And I always find games like that just fascinating. But all we can really do now is just wonder what Kirby Air Ride could have been. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go play some Kirby Air Ride one-handed, if you know what I mean. Okay, this still isn't funny. I'm leaving now.